today. I would like to tell you the story of the day a friend and I were able to fly to Dublin to meet Group Captain John Paddy Hemingway, DFC, the last known member of Churchill's Few. It was such a privilege. So a good friend of mine called Johnny Cracknell and I flew over there, and we were allowed into John's care home, and he had his medals laid out for us. He had his logbook laid out on his bed, which we were allowed to read, which offered just a fascinating insight into that unique era. And it was just incredible to speak to a man who was there. So John Hemingway, despite the fact that he was 100 years old when we went over to meet him, was still full of personality, still full of life. And he said to us, I knew I'd survive the Battle of Britain. I'm an Irishman. You don't get an Irishman, we get you. That's what he actually said to us. He was still full of that charisma that he'd always had. Now, John Hemingway saw service throughout the Battle of France, the Battle of Britain, and also into Italy as well. But it was amazing speaking to him and hearing him open up about some of the men and some of the personalities that he flew and fought beside. So some of the conversations that stick in my mind are when we spoke about Dickie Lee. He was a member of 85 Squadron along with John Hemingway. His eyes just lit up, and you can tell that he remembered Dickie Lee with such fondness, called him his boss, said that he was the best pilot he ever flew with, but you could just tell how much he meant to him. Also, he told us a story about Sammy Allard, another pilot who was so exhausted under the strains of the flying during the Battle of France that when he once landed his Hurricane, he just slumped over and fell asleep at the control. So when the ground crew came up to meet him, he was fast asleep in the cockpit. That was what was being asked of these brave young men. Like I say, he's the last known surviving member of the 2,938 pilots who flew and fought for this country during the Battle of Britain. He was shot down 4 times throughout the war, but one story that really sort of sticks really clearly in my mind was when he was serving in Italy. He was squadron leader of a Spitfire ground attack squadron. He was hit by ground fire and his Spitfire went down. Now the German army were hot on his heels, were firing shots at him, so he had to run off. Eventually realising he needed some assistance, so he banged on a door, just hoping that it would be a pro-ally family, because Italy was a very divided country at this moment in time. Luckily they were, and they helped John Hemingway out, but what really sticks in mind is when he told us the story of how he got through the German lines back to the Allies. So basically the 7-year-old daughter of this family, it was decided that the best way he could get back was for her and her alone, to just John and this 7-year-old girl, to walk through the German occupied lines and just act as if there was not a care in the world. They would just chat and laugh and sort of act as if he was like an uncle figure. And they literally walked through. She smuggled him back through, and he remembered that so vividly, and he just said, I owe it all to her. I often think about her, what happened to her, but it was just an amazing tale of an amazing time. So yeah, John Hemingway retired from the Royal Air Force in 1969 as Group Captain, but it was an absolute privilege and a day that Johnny and I will never forget, as we sat down and spoke with the last remaining member of Churchill's Few.